Hey, Dr. Brian here. So, for the last couple of days, you may have heard the stories about Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil going in a Fox News program, giving their interview statement about how they feel about whether or not we should open up the economy, the economy amidst this whole coronavirus fiasco. Now, before we begin and get to their segment about how they feel, I first want to introduce some of my good friends who are also doctors. So let's first take a look. The first one we're going to have is my good friend, Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, what do you think? Should we open up the country?
Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that meant, but okay. The next friend I have here is my other good friend, my Mr. Dr. Pepper. Oh man, I don't know about you, but I suddenly want a soda. And my other guest appearance right here is by none other than the best man himself, Dr. J. He served that guy his prescription. All right, all jokes aside, over the last couple of days, there has actually been news about Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil kind of giving them their expert opinions about how they feel about opening up the country amidst this whole coronavirus thing going on. And granted, I understand a lot of us are feeling very cabin fever at this point. We all want to get back to work. We're all, insecure. A lot of us are not very jobless. A lot of us have been unemployed at this point because nothing's open, therefore we can't go to work. We all know the spiel, right? And I'm just so surprised, honestly, about people like Dr. Oz. I mean, for one, Dr. Oz is just a quack. I mean, he's at this point, granted, he was a good doctor, I assume, back when he was an actual doctor. He gave this interview on Fox News the other day, just kind of detailing his own expert opinion about how he feels about things like opening up schools. And just take a look at this.
Telling Sean Hannity America needs to get its mojo back.
Schools are a very appetizing opportunity. I just saw a nice piece in the Lancet arguing that the opening of schools may only cost us 2 to 3% in terms of total mortality. And, that's any life is a life lost. But to get every child back into a school where they're safely being educated, being fed, and making the most out of their lives with a theoretical risk in the backside, it might be a trade-off some folks would consider.
So he gives this spiel about how we should open up the schools, and despite having a possible 2 to 3% mortality rate, we should still do it because, school systems are the backbone of America, and that we all need to, our kids need to be fed, our kids need to have a place to go. I did a calculation, okay? So the average elementary school has about 500 to 600 kids at a time in school. 2 to 3% of those numbers is between 10 to 11 kids. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want my kid risking that statistic. Because, granted, 2 to 3% sounds small, but 10 to 11 kids at a school possibly dying or contracting this disease. I'm not going to use the word dying, but contracting this disease and possibly risking further complications that may be associated with this COVID-19. Because granted, this is still a new thing for us and we don't know what the long-term repercussions are. Let me take this off. I don't need this anymore. We don't know the long-term repercussions of this COVID-19 fiasco. And so, yeah, they might have recovered normally, but who knows what it could have done to their lung function later on in life, maybe their heart function. We don't know yet. Everything is still too early. And then there's another one from Dr. Phil who's kind of giving out his statistics about just normal death, right? So he equated things like poverty death to like 48,000 just people in general, to like 400 to 80,000. I'm not going to get the numbers. From cigarette smoking, from accidents, car accidents, to deaths from swimming pool.
250 people a year die from poverty. And the poverty line is getting such that more and more people are going to fall below that because the economy is crashing around us. And they're doing that because people are dying from the coronavirus. I get that. But look, the fact of the matter is we have people dying. 45,000 people a year die from automobile accidents, 480,000 from cigarettes, 360,000 a year from swimming pools. But we don't shut the country down for that. But yet we're doing it for this. And the fallout is going to last for years because people's lives are being destroyed.
Granted, these are not the same thing. I don't know about you, but when was the last time you contracted motor vehicle accident, or the last time you went to a swimming pool and contracted, drowning from one of your local swimmers right there? Like, these pundits, you want to call them pundits, these celebrities, these voice actors, I don't even want to call what you want to call them anymore, but it's like these are people giving the wrong information. And I'm saying glad, but these are the only people who would likely appear on Fox News giving them their expert opinion about how they feel about opening up the country. And granted, of course, this makes sense, right? I mean, these people are big die-hard Trump supporters. Granted, you know how I feel about Trump, but it's like he wants to open up the economy for one reason. And if you honestly don't know why he wants to open up the economy, then you need to go back to history class, economics class, I don't know, just take a critical thinking class. Obviously, if you open up the economy, businesses are going to open, right? Who owns these businesses? People like millionaires, billionaires, Koch brothers, Mercer, Robert Mercer, rich people, right? How are they going to get money? How are they going to increase their stock portfolio and all of their index funds or whatever? It's when you, me, go back to work, right? Obviously, they're not risking their lives. They're stuck in their mansion or their yacht or their fancy villa over at France just to kind of, live the rest of their lives while their employees are making them rich, making them money. I'm not gonna, I want to go back to work. I want life to be normal again. I want to be able to go to the gym, go to my restaurants, go to my ice cream shops or whatever, right? We all want to go back to our normal lives, but I don't want to risk my health, risk your health, risk those people's health for the sake of increasing a 2 or 3% profit for these rich millionaire assholes. So remember that the reproduction factor or the R0 factor for the COVID-19 is anywhere between 2 to 2.5. So what that means is that if I have the coronavirus, for example, and if I'm hanging out with someone who doesn't have it, the likely chances of this virus spreading is 2 to 2.5, right? So that means for every one person that has it, 2.5 people are likely to contract this disease. And this disease spreads really, really fast. And I know there was an interview between Laura Ingraham and Dr. Fauci kind of explaining things like, well, the SARS-2 virus was, back in 10 or 20 years ago when this happened. We got that under control, right?
It's an inconsistency.
But Dr. Fauci, on the question of a vaccine, we don't have a vaccine for SARS. I mean, they got close in mice. We don't have a vaccine for HIV. And life did go on, right? So the idea that we're definitely going to have a vaccine, we didn't really approach much else in the same way as we're pegging going back to normal with a vaccine, did we?
Well, but Laura, this is different. HIV/AIDS is entirely different. We don't have a vaccine for HIV/AIDS, but we have spectacularly effective treatment. People who invariably would have died years ago right now are leading essentially normal lives. SARS is a different story. SARS disappeared. We developed a vaccine. We were in the process of going through the various phases. We showed it was safe. We showed it induced a good response. And then SARS disappeared. And we didn't need to develop a vaccine for SARS. So I think it's a little bit misleading maybe to compare what we're going through now with HIV or SARS. They're really different.
But we don't know. This could disappear. I mean, SARS did pretty much disappear. This could as well, correct?
Yeah. Anything could, Laura, but I have to tell you, the degree of efficiency of transmissibility of this is really unprecedented in anything that I've seen. It's an extraordinarily efficient virus in transmitting from one person to another. Those kind of viruses don't just disappear.
And it disappeared. Dr. Fauci was like, well, listen, it was different because they were able to create a vaccine for that, a cure for that essentially. And obviously that went away because we have cures, we have vaccinations we have treatment for it. But the problem with the COVID-19 virus right now is we're still trying to find a vaccination. We're still trying to find a cure to basically get a handle of this. And I swear, once we get the virus contained, once we get this disease contained, then we'll be able to go back to work. Then we'll be able to go back to our normal lives, right? And I just hate the fact that I did listen to this. I hate watching Fox News, but I had to adopt the discipline to listen for 10 minutes to this Laura Ingraham berate Dr. Fauci and basically questioning his credibility. And she's like, well, this virus will eventually go away, right? Just like, look at the SARS virus, look at the HIV virus. And he's just like, no, it's not just going to go away on its own. Viruses don't work that way. And it's true. Viruses don't work that way, okay? They don't just disappear on its own because we said so. We have to come up with a cure, a vaccine to basically get a handle and get a treatment for this. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to spread. All right, so I decided to just do a quick statistical check to see which states have been most affected as far as this whole COVID-19 thing. And it's pretty interesting to note. Let's take a look at some of the numbers, okay? we all remember with Washington State when it first came out that, we were kind of almost ground zero, right? Because of a lot of the people flying from, let's say, China, flying into Washington, and plus we have a lot of Asians and Chinese Americans in the state of Washington. And as of today, or as of yesterday, April 17th, we have 268 cases, 268 new cases as of April 17th, okay? So that's not bad. Numbers are going down, and clearly you could see the spike in the chart. Let's take a look at the next one, California. As of April 16th, they have about 1,346 new cases. Granted, California is a bigger state, and they have a more dense population than, say, the state of Washington. Granted, this number is going to be higher. Let's take it a step further. All right, in the state of Michigan, where Michigan is kind of in the middle of the country, it's expected that they shouldn't have as much new cases because, one, just the transmission rate. People aren't flying in from other countries to Michigan or from China to Michigan or whatever, right? So Michigan's kind of in the middle. But as of yesterday, they have 760 new cases of the coronavirus. And let's take it New York. New York is fascinating, okay? Freaking A. They have 7,300 new cases as of yesterday, or April 17th. That is a lot. I mean, granted, they have such a massive, dense population with their subway systems and just like their taxis and everything. And of course, they're going to be hit so hard and so fast. And let's take a look at Florida. Because remember, Florida kind of opened up their beaches. They didn't really take this seriously, okay? Let's take a look at Florida. As of yesterday, April 17th, they have 1,400 new cases. They have more than Washington. And remember, Washington was kind of the almost, I want to call it ground zero of when this whole COVID-19 started really making headway, making news. So this is very interesting. And I looked at other states like Arkansas, Montana, like all of the smaller dense populations, and they're basically in the double digits and maybe triple digits, but it's very, very low considering just population density as well as their population size and just overall transmission rates, because also people aren't, but people aren't driving there as much. And, we all know that the bigger cities have bigger populations of people. So just interesting to note. And here in the state of Washington right now, we are, and I believe California as well, because we've been in shelter in place for the last 5 or 6 weeks now, there has been a really slow decrease in the amount of this contagion for this disease as well as the overall mortality rate. So of course the shelter in place is working. And I know, again, I want to go back to my normal life as much as possible, but we need to all work collaboratively together to ensure that we can and will eventually get back to our normal lives. And just for happenstance, I have one more surprise doctor who wants to give his expert opinion.
It's lupus-induced kidney failure, the lupus nephritis.
It's lupus.
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 It's not lupus. Lupus is a bad diagnosis. It's not lupus. I finally had a case of lupus.
That was great. It's lupus finally. All right. So just take care of yourselves, continue to be safe, and just be patient. Okay, be patient. We all want to get back to our normal lives. Trust me, we do. We're not doing this on purpose. This ain't no hoax. This ain't no ploy by the Democratic Party. Look at other countries. They're still continuing to be shelter in place. They're still continuing to be on lockdown. It's not a government ploy to say, the left is right, the right is right, or whoever. This is a natural world crisis, and we all need to work together for the sake of just you, for the sake of me, and for the sake of our grandparents, our kids, and our future generation, okay? So take care, and I'll see you in my next video.